Hello friends, welcome to CBLR exam preparations. Vectra Core Academy is a trusted name in the field of custom broker licensing exam preparations. We have an Android application for practicing the MCQ questions for better scoring in the online exam conducted by Nathan Customs. Myself, Sumit Kumar Srivastav, Customs broker and faculty for the CBLR exam. This is part 5, having further 25 questions. Earlier to this, we have released 4 parts, each having 25 questions. Question 101. From which date interest is payable by importer on amount payable consequent to final assessment? Now, out of the options that we see, we need to analyze that when the final assessment takes place for the provisionally assessed goods, then if duty is found to be paid, then interest is liable to be paid. Then from which date we need to pay this duty? As per section 17 of the Customs Act 1962, that date has to be from the first day of the month. So out of the options, from the first day of the month in which the duty is provisionally assessed, option 1 is the correct answer. Question 102. The minor amendments to IGM are done by which one? Which of the officers? Minor amendments to the IGM are done without adjudication by superintendent oblique appraiser. So out of the options, option 4 is the correct answer. In the major amendments, adjudication may take place, but in the minor amendments, adjudication does not take place. Question 103. For re-export under Section 74 of Customs Act 1962, the identity of the goods has to be established with respect to import documents to the satisfaction of which of the officers? As per the option that we see and analyze that as per Section 74 of the Customs Act 1962, it has to be up to the satisfaction of AC or DC. Identity must be established. So AC or DC means Assistant Commissioner or the Deputy Commissioner of the Customs. So as per the options, option 4 is the correct answer. Question 104. Shipping bill presented by an exporter is deemed to be an application for refund of integrated tax paid on the export goods when which of the following process takes place? Now, at the time of the export, IGST is paid or the cash is deposited that gets refunded automatically after the export has taken place. But it happens only when the EGM has been filed, Export Grant Manifest. That means the goods have been loaded on vessel and it goes for export, goes out of the territory of India. And once the GSTR 3B is filed, the refund comes in the account automatically. So as per the options, option 4 is the correct answer. EGM and valid return in form GSTR 3B is filed. Then the refund of IGST is done. Question 105. Leather jacket is classifiable under which of the following chapters? Now, for this, you need to understand the chapter headings and you need to learn and summarize them in your mind. Leather comes under chapter 42. So as per the options, option 3 is the correct answer. Question 106. In case importer is not satisfied with the test report, can he request for the retest? Out of the option that we see and analyze, that if in case of government agencies, the custom authorities gets the sample tested and the importer is not satisfied with the components that gets declared out of that test. So if the importer is not satisfied with the test report, then he can opt for the retest. Anyways, कभी भी अगर importer satisfied नहीं है टेस्ट से, गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज जो टेस्ट कर रही हैं और डिक्लेयर कर रही हैं कि ये कंपोनेंट्स हैं सैंपल में, and is not satisfied, he can surely say that he needs the retest of the sample. So as per the options, option 1 is the correct answer. Question 107. Which export benefits can also be taken while exporting under the EPCG scheme? First option, advance authorization. Second option, DFIA. Third option, duty drawback. So out of the options that we understand, export benefits can be taken on all the three schemes of advance authorization, DFIA, and duty drawback. So as per the option 4 is the correct answer. Question 108. New pneumatic rubber tires are classifiable under which of the chapters? Tires are made of rubber and rubber is classifiable under 40. So chapter 40 is the correct answer. As per the options, option 4 is the correct answer. Question 109. Which of the following export promotion scheme is formulated and administered by Ministry of Finance? Out of the options that we have, duty drawback is formulated and administered by Ministry of Finance, while the EPCG and DFIA are administered by Ministry of Commerce. And DPB is almost over now. So as per the question and the options available, option 2 is the correct answer, duty drawback. Question 110. Imported goods are warehoused and export bill of entry filed after 90 days, but before 1 year. Then which of the following can take place? Out of the options that we have, the goods can be cleared only on the payment of duty with applicable interest. Because the goods are being cleared after 90 days, so whatever interest is applicable is payable. For the options, option 4 is the correct answer. Question 111. Can an importer relinquish the title to the goods and abandon the same? So one of the options that we have, we understand, yes, importer can relinquish his title to the goods, but only in the scenario when an offense has not been conducted. So as per the options, option 2 is the correct answer. Yes, he can abandon the goods before the order for clearance has been given by the proper officer for home consumption or for warehousing, provided no offense has been committed. Question 112. Whether an importer has to compulsorily take the services of a customs broker. And for the options that we have available, the answer is no. The importer do not have to compulsorily take the services of the custom broker. If he wants any expert guidance and expert assistance, expert advice, then he can take the service of customs broker. Because if you go in the court or any other adjudicating department, then you can also file the case and fight it on your own self-basis, self-defense. But you need an advocate because he has expert knowledge of the law and the legal procedures. So as per the options, option 3 is the correct answer. No, the importer can self-clear the consignment as well. Question 113. In case of imported goods which are required to comply with the Indian quality standards, the exporter of such goods from foreign country must be registered with. One of the options that we have, the only relevant answer is Bureau of Indian Standards. So option 3 is the correct answer. Question 114. If the reassessment done by the department is contrary to the self-assessment done by the importer, then what will take place? Out of the options that we have, understand that either the importer has to accept the reassessment in writing, or the department has to issue the speaking order within 15 days of reassessment. So as per the options, option 3 is the correct answer. 115. No order confiscating any goods or imposing any penalty on any person shall be made under the Customs Act 1962 unless the owner of the goods or such person is first given a notice informing him of the grounds on which it is proposed to confiscate the goods or impose penalty. Second, given an opportunity of making a representation in writing and given personal hearing. Out of the options that we have, we understand that all of the three are applicable in this case. So as per the options, option 4 is the correct answer. Question 116. Can seized goods be provisionally released pending adjudication? From the options that we have, we understand that the goods can be provisionally released by the adjudicating authority after taking the necessary bond, security, and fulfillment of certain conditions that the adjudicating authority may impose. Out of the options that we have, option 3 is the correct answer. Yes, on taking bond with security and fulfillment of conditions imposed by the adjudicating authority. Question 117. Under the EPCG scheme, the export obligation is based on. Of the options that we have, export obligation is based on the duty saved on the import. So out of the options, option 1 is the correct answer. Question 118. An exporter exports goods worth rupees 1 lakh FOB value under the duty drawback scheme. He receives the duty drawback of rupees 10,000. The remittance for the exported goods is received only up to the extent of 60,000, whether the drawback is to be recovered from him. What of the option that we understand is yes, the duty is to be recovered from him, and he is liable to pay back the duty to the government because the government gave the money for facilitation of the trade, for the growth of the trade. The government has given the money, and the government can realize the money from him. So now the question is how much money has to be recovered from him. As we see, 1 lakh was the FOB value and duty drawback was 10,000, that is 10%. 60,000 only received as a remittance amount, only 60% was received. 40% was not received. So 40% of the drawback value, which is 4,000, is recoverable from him. Out of the options that we have, yes, rupees 4,000 is the correct answer. Option 1 is the correct answer for this. Question 119. Where duty is not payable due to exemption, charges for delayed presentation of bill of entry under bill of entry, electronic integrated declaration and paperless processing regulations 2002 shall not exceed how much amount? In the context of 2019, this question was asked, so rupees 50,000 is the correct answer. As per the options, option 2 is the correct answer. Question 120. Mark the right answer. Whether any goods imported in a package are liable to confiscation. The package and any other goods imported in that package shall be liable to confiscation. Out of the options that we have, we understand that the statement is correct because as per section 118 of Customs Act 1962, package is liable to confiscation. Understand and remember the several customs sections which are given in the Customs Act 1962. That's the best way to clear the exam. Question 121. When can proper officer of customs seize the goods? Out of the options we understand that as per section 110A, when the goods are liable for confiscation, the proper officer of customs can seize the goods. So as per the options, option 1 is the correct answer. Question 122. Is the time limit for filing refund claim for refund of duty under section 27 of Customs Act 1962, where duty paid under protest? When the duty is paid under protest, there is no time limit. If the duty is not under protest, then only the time limit is there. So as per the option 1 is the correct answer. Question 123. Which of the following is the reward scheme? Out of the options that we have, we understand that MEIS and SEIS schemes are the reward schemes. This question has been asked in the context of 2019. However, the things have changed in today's scenario. But as per the context of 2019, the correct answer is option 3. Question 124. What is the present rate of interest for delayed payment of refund by department under the Customs Act 1962? If the department delays the payment of duty refund, then the interest rate is 6%. And if it has been delayed by the importer, the correct rate is 15%. So as per the options, option 4 is the correct answer, 6%. Question 125. Import goods were assessed provisionally on 1st January 2019. The same were finally assessed on 15th March 2019 and duty paid on 17th March 2019. The limitation for clearing refund under section 27 of the Customs Act 1962 shall begin from which date? See, we need to understand very clearly about provisional assessment and final assessment. Thereafter, only the questions like refund can be solved. Now, the goods were finally assessed on 15th March, but the government is mainly concerned with the duty part. The duty was paid on 17th March. So effectively, the goods will be considered to be finally assessed on the duty payment date, which is 17th March. And hence, the correct answer is 17th March 2019. And as per the options, option 3 is the correct answer. So friends, taking you again up to the question 101, wherein we discussed when the interest is payable by the importer consequent to the final assessment. Friends, here you need to very clearly understand provisional assessment as per section 17 of the Customs Act and final assessment as per section 18 of the Customs Act. So once these two sections are clear to you, only then you will be able to solve the questions pertaining to the provisional assessment, final assessment, and their refunds. So when referring Section 17 and Section 18 of the Customs Act, you understand that from the first day of the month in which the duty is provisionally assessed, the interest is payable by the importer on the amount. Thank you. In the further video, we'll be taking up further 25 questions. Thank you.